I sit in my car outside the corporate building where I dedicated 7 years of my life clutching a cardboard box containing my personal belongings. My direct supervisor, Marcus, just delivered the crushing news with cold indifference. "We're letting you go. We found someone better for half your salary." The words echo in my mind as tears blur my vision. I believed I was valued, trusted, essential to the marketing team's success. Now I feel utterly betrayed and worthless. My phone suddenly buzzes with an unknown number. The caller ID shows Regional Director. My hands shake as I stare at the screen. Why would the Regional Director call me now? Thomas Patterson rarely contacts individual employees directly. Maybe Marcus told him about my termination, and he wants to offer some generic farewell message. I swipe to answer, my voice barely steady.
"Hello, this is Brigitte."
"Brigitte, thank goodness. Where are you?" "The quarterly strategy meeting started 20 minutes ago, and you're supposed to present the national campaign proposal." My stomach drops. "I'm sorry, what meeting?" "The $12 million Cascade Industries account. You've been preparing for weeks. Marcus said you called in sick, but I specifically told him I needed you there personally." The words hit me like a physical blow. Marcus told Thomas I called in sick. I glance at the corporate building through my windshield, processing this impossible information. "Mr. Patterson, there's been a misunderstanding. Marcus terminated me this morning. He said the company found someone better for half my salary." Silence stretches across the line. When Thomas speaks again, his voice carries a dangerous edge I've never heard before. "He did what, Brigitte. Stay exactly where you are. I'll be down in 5 minutes." The call ends, leaving me staring at my phone in bewilderment. My mind races through the morning's events. Marcus called me into his office at 9:30, his usual smug expression more pronounced than normal. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Corporate's making budget cuts. Your position's been eliminated. We're bringing in fresh talent at a more competitive rate." I asked about my projects, my clients, the campaigns I'd spent months developing. He waved dismissively, claiming everything would transfer seamlessly to my replacement. When I requested details about severance or transition time, he handed me a box and pointed toward the door. "Clean out your desk. Security will escort you out within the hour." The humiliation burned as I packed 7 years of achievements into that cardboard container. Awards for campaign excellence, client appreciation letters, photos from company events where I genuinely believed I belonged. My colleagues avoided eye contact, probably relieved they weren't chosen for elimination. Now Thomas Patterson, the regional director who oversees 5 states, claims he specifically requested my presence at a critical meeting. Either Marcus lied to him about my availability, or he lied to me about my termination. Neither option makes sense. A sharp knock on my passenger window startles me from these thoughts. Thomas stands outside, his usually composed demeanor replaced by barely controlled anger. I roll down the window, uncertain whether I should get out or stay put. "Brigitte, I need you to come back inside immediately. There's been a serious communication breakdown." "But Marcus said my position was eliminated. He had me pack my things." Thomas's jaw tightens. "Marcus doesn't have authority to eliminate positions without my approval, especially not yours. The Cascade Industries contract depends on your strategic input. You've built relationships with their executives over 2 years." My heart pounds as I follow Thomas through the lobby. Employees glance nervously in our direction. Word travels fast in corporate environments, and my public termination probably spread through every department within minutes. We enter the elevator, and Thomas presses the button for the executive floor, where I rarely venture. His silence feels ominous. "Mr. Patterson, I don't understand what's happening. Marcus seems certain about the decision." "Neither do I, Brigitte, but I intend to find out." The elevator opens, revealing the executive conference room through glass walls. A dozen people sit around the mahogany table, including several clients I recognize. Marcus stands at the presentation screen, gesturing toward charts and graphs. A young woman with blonde hair sits beside him, looking nervous and out of place. Thomas's expression darkens further. "Who is that person at the table?" "I think that's Sarah. She started in accounting last month." Accounting. Why would an accountant present marketing strategy to our biggest potential client? The pieces click into place with sickening clarity. Marcus hired his girlfriend Sarah to replace me at half my salary, but he couldn't admit their relationship to corporate leadership. So he fabricated a story about my illness to explain my absence while proceeding with the meeting using an unqualified substitute. Thomas pushes open the conference room door, and every head turns toward us. Marcus's face drains of color as he sees me standing beside his boss. Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse the interruption. Marcus, I need to speak with you privately, immediately. The clients murmur among themselves as Marcus reluctantly approaches. Sarah remains frozen in her chair, clearly recognizing the gravity of the situation. Thomas, I can explain. Brigitte called in sick this morning, so I brought Sarah to cover the basic presentation points. Brigitte is standing right here, Marcus. She was terminated by you 2 hours ago. Now explain to me how someone who's supposedly sick enough to miss a critical meeting is also fired for performance issues. Marcus's mouth opens and closes without producing sound. His carefully constructed lie crumbles in real time. There must be some confusion. I meant she was feeling unwell, so I recommended she take some time off to recover. The termination was a separate decision based on recent performance declines. Thomas's voice drops to a whisper that somehow feels more threatening than shouting. Performance declines. Brigitte generated 40% more revenue than any marketing coordinator in this region last quarter. Her client retention rate exceeds 90%. What performance declines? I watch Marcus scramble for an answer that doesn't exist. During our brief conversation this morning, he mentioned finding someone better, but provided no specific criticisms of my work. Everything happened so quickly, I didn't have time to question the decision. I have documentation of concerning behaviors and missed deadlines. Show me, right now. Marcus's confidence evaporates completely. The files are in my office. I'll need time to retrieve them. Brigitte, what missed deadlines is he referring to? I clear my throat, still processing this surreal confrontation. Mr. Patterson, I submitted the Cascade Industries proposal 3 days early. All my current projects are ahead of schedule. I haven't missed a deadline in over 2 years. Thomas turns back to Marcus with the patience of a predator circling wounded prey. You have exactly 60 seconds to produce evidence of performance issues, or I'm placing you on immediate suspension pending investigation. The conference room falls silent. Clients watch this drama unfold with uncomfortable fascination. Sarah looks like she wants to disappear entirely. Marcus glances desperately between Thomas and me, realizing his lies have trapped him in an impossible position. He can't produce documentation that doesn't exist, and every word from his mouth digs him deeper into professional quicksand. I'll need to review her files more thoroughly before making specific claims. Thomas checks his watch with deliberate precision. Time's up. Marcus, you're suspended effective immediately. Brigitte, please resume your position and salvage this presentation. We'll discuss the details afterward. As security escorts Marcus from the building, I realize the magnitude of what just transpired. Marcus didn't just terminate me unjustly, he nearly sabotaged a $12 million deal to cover his tracks. But why? What motivated him to destroy my career and risk the company's most important contract? The answer walks past me toward the elevator. Sarah glances back with guilt written across her face, and suddenly everything becomes clear. Marcus prioritized his personal relationship over professional integrity, and I became collateral damage in his selfish scheme. Returning to my desk feels surreal after the morning's emotional whiplash. My colleagues stare openly now, whispers following my footsteps across the marketing floor. Janet from the adjacent cubicle approaches with genuine concern etched on her face. Brigitte, we heard you were fired. Then security escorted Marcus out. What's going on? I sink into my chair, overwhelmed by the rapid reversal of fortune. 3 hours ago, I cleaned out this same desk, believing my career was over. Now I'm supposed to conduct business as usual while processing Marcus's betrayal. Marcus lied about my termination to cover up some personal agenda. Mr. Patterson suspended him pending investigation. Janet's eyes widen with shock and something else. Recognition, perhaps. She glances around nervously before lowering her voice. Brigitte, I need to tell you something. Yesterday, Marcus came to my desk asking questions about your computer access and project files. He claimed you might be sharing confidential information with competitors. My blood runs cold. He said what? I defended you completely, but he insisted corporate security was investigating suspicious activity on your account. He asked if I'd noticed you staying late or accessing files outside your department. The pieces of Marcus's scheme become clearer and more sinister. He wasn't content with simply firing me. He wanted to destroy my reputation entirely. Accusations of corporate espionage would blacklist me from the entire industry. I log into my computer system expecting to find everything intact since my termination was reversed. Instead, I discover numerous files missing from my project folders. Campaign documents I spent weeks creating have vanished without explanation. Janet, look at this. My Cascade Industries folder is almost empty. The competitor analysis and budget projections are gone. Could they be in your deleted items? I checked the recycling bin, but it's been cleared. Someone with administrative access removed these files deliberately. Given the timeline, Marcus must have deleted them during the brief window when I was supposedly terminated. My phone rings, displaying the extension for Linda Morrison, our HR director. Her voice sounds strained and apologetic. Brigitte, could you come to my office? I need to discuss this morning's events and clarify some documentation issues. Linda's office occupies a corner space with glass walls that offer little privacy. She closes the door and activates the white noise machine, signaling a sensitive conversation. Brigitte, I owe you an apology. Marcus pressured me to expedite your termination without following proper protocols. He claimed you posed an immediate security risk and needed removal before you could damage company assets. I processed this revelation with growing anger. Marcus manipulated multiple people to orchestrate my downfall. What kind of security risk? He suggested you were sharing proprietary information with Bradley Industries, said he had evidence of suspicious communications and needed to act quickly before you leaked the Cascade Industries proposal. Bradley Industries is our primary competitor for the contract Thomas mentioned. If Marcus convinced HR I was feeding them information, my termination would seem justified and urgent. Linda, I've never communicated with Bradley Industries about anything. Marcus fabricated those accusations. I'm beginning to realize that. He bypassed several mandatory procedures and insisted on immediate action. I should have demanded proper documentation before proceeding. A knock on Linda's door interrupts our conversation. Through the glass, I see David Chen, our corporate security chief, holding a thick folder. Linda waves him inside. David has some information you both need to hear. David's expression is grim as he settles into the third chair. His background in law enforcement shows in his methodical approach to workplace investigations. I reviewed security footage from the past 2 weeks after Mr. Patterson requested a comprehensive audit. The results are concerning. He opens his folder, revealing printed screenshots from various surveillance cameras. These images show Marcus accessing Brigitte's workstation after hours on 4 separate occasions. He used his administrative privileges to bypass normal security restrictions. The photos are damning. Marcus sits at my desk, clearly manipulating files on my computer screen. The timestamps show he visited my workspace last night around 11 p.m. hours after the building officially closed. What was he doing there? Based on system logs, he deleted approximately 200 files from your project directories and copied sensitive client information to a portable drive. He also planted fabricated email communications suggesting contact with Bradley Industries. My hands clench into fists. Marcus didn't just fire me. He systematically destroyed evidence of my work while creating false proof of wrongdoing. The depth of his betrayal exceeds anything I imagined. David, can you recover the deleted files? Our IT department is working on it now. The planted emails were amateurish and easily identified as forgeries. Whoever created them used outdated security protocols that haven't been valid for 6 months. Linda shakes her head in disbelief. Why would Marcus risk his career for something so elaborate and pointless? Before David can respond, his radio crackles with an urgent message. He listens intently before meeting our eyes with a new level of seriousness. That was building security. Sarah Whitman is in the lobby demanding to speak with Mr. Patterson immediately. She claims to have information about Marcus's activities that corporate leadership needs to hear. The 3 of us exchange meaningful glances. Sarah was Marcus's intended replacement for me, but her presence suggests she might be turning against him. Why would she jeopardize her own position to expose the man who gave it to her? Should I bring her up? David asks. Yes, Linda responds quickly. And contact Mr. Patterson. If Sarah has evidence of Marcus's misconduct, he needs to hear it directly. As David leaves to retrieve Sarah, I struggle to understand the rapid pace of revelations. This morning, I thought my career was over because of budget cuts. Now I'm learning about an elaborate conspiracy involving deleted files, fabricated evidence, and corporate espionage accusations. Linda, how long has Marcus had administrative access to employee computers? About 6 months. He requested elevated privileges to streamline project management across the marketing team. I approved it based on his seniority and departmental needs. 6 months ago was when my relationship with Marcus began deteriorating. He started questioning my decisions, demanding excessive documentation, and excluding me from important meetings. I attributed his behavior to normal workplace stress, but now I realize he was planning my destruction for half a year. Sarah enters Linda's office looking pale and nervous. Her hands shake as she clutches a manila envelope against her chest. Mrs. Morrison, I need to confess something terrible. Marcus lied about everything, and I helped him do it. Linda activates the white noise machine again, ensuring our conversation remains private. Sarah, you're not in trouble. Just tell us what happened. Sarah's voice breaks as she begins her confession. Marcus and I have been dating for 4 months. He promised me Brigitte's position if I kept our relationship secret and followed his instructions exactly. My heart sinks. The woman I thought was simply an unqualified replacement was actually Marcus's accomplice in a premeditated scheme. What instructions? He made me practice Brigitte's presentation style and memorize her strategic talking points. He said corporate was planning to promote him, and he needed someone loyal in the marketing coordinator role. Sarah opens the envelope, revealing printed text messages and emails. These are conversations where Marcus outlined his plan. He said Brigitte was too ambitious and threatened his advancement opportunities. He needed to eliminate her before she received recognition that should belong to him. I read the messages with growing horror. Marcus described me as a competitive threat who needed neutralization. He planned to steal credit for my successful campaigns and frame me for security violations to justify my termination. Sarah, why are you revealing this now? Because what happened in the conference room made me realize how wrong this was. Marcus told me Brigitte was mediocre and her firing would barely register with management. But Mr. Patterson's reaction showed how valued she really is. The weight of Marcus's betrayal settles heavily in the room. He didn't just want my job. He wanted to destroy my professional reputation to prevent me from competing with him elsewhere. Linda reviews Sarah's evidence with increasing alarm. These messages detail systematic harassment and fraudulent behavior. Sarah, you could face serious consequences for participating in this scheme. I know, but I can't let an innocent person suffer for my mistakes. Marcus manipulated me, but I still made the choice to go along with his plan. Thomas Patterson arrives as Sarah finishes speaking. His presence fills the small office with authority and barely contained anger. I've reviewed the preliminary investigation results. Marcus's misconduct extends far beyond Brigitte's wrongful termination. We're dealing with embezzlement fraud and potential corporate espionage. My mind reels at the escalating severity of charges. What started as an unjust firing has uncovered criminal activity that could destroy multiple careers and damage the company's reputation. Mr. Patterson, how extensive is the financial damage? Conservative estimates suggest Marcus diverted over $80,000 from project budgets to fund personal expenses. He also attempted to sell confidential client information to Bradley Industries. The room falls silent as we process the magnitude of Marcus's crimes. He wasn't just a petty manager eliminating perceived threats. He was a criminal using his position to steal from the company and betray our clients' trust. Sarah wipes tears from her eyes as she addresses Thomas directly. Mr. Patterson, I have recordings of Marcus admitting to the embezzlement and planning to join Bradley Industries after destroying evidence of his theft. He thought I would follow him to the competitor, but I never agreed to betray this company. Thomas accepts the recording device with the solemnity of someone handling evidence in a murder trial. Sarah, your cooperation will be noted in the formal investigation. However, you'll need legal representation for the charges you'll likely face. As the meeting concludes, I realize this situation extends far beyond personal vindication. Marcus's crimes could have destroyed the company's relationship with major clients and cost dozens of jobs. My wrongful termination was merely one component of a much larger criminal enterprise. The question now is whether we can repair the damage and ensure justice prevails. The following morning brings a parade of corporate investigators to our office building. FBI agents in dark suits occupy the conference room where I should have presented to Cascade Industries yesterday. The irony isn't lost on me that Marcus's scheme to sabotage my career has instead attracted federal law enforcement attention to his criminal activities. Rachel Martinez, a forensic accountant with the regional FBI office, requests my presence for a detailed interview about Marcus's financial irregularities. Her methodical approach and sharp questions reveal the depth of criminal behavior I never suspected. Brigitte, we've identified systematic discrepancies across 15 major projects over the past 18 months. Someone with administrative access manipulated budget allocations and vendor payments for personal benefit. I review the financial records she presents, recognizing projects I managed during that time frame. Numbers don't match my recollections of approved expenditures. The Henderson Industries campaign shows vendor payments totaling $43,000, but I only approved $28,000. Where did the additional $15,000 go? Rachel points to forged approval signatures on payment authorizations. Marcus created fictional vendors and approved payments to shell companies he controlled. He used your project codes to hide the fraud within legitimate campaign expenses. The scope of deception overwhelms me. Marcus didn't just steal money, he used my work as camouflage for his crimes. Every successful campaign I managed provided him with opportunities to embezzle funds while maintaining plausible deniability. How long has this been happening? Based on preliminary analysis, the fraudulent activity began approximately 2 years ago and escalated significantly in recent months. The attempted sale of client information to Bradley Industries was likely his exit strategy before the embezzlement was discovered. Christopher Walsh. Our primary contact at Cascade Industries arrives unexpectedly during my interview with Rachel. His presence adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Brigitte, I came as soon as I heard about the investigation. Marcus contacted me yesterday, claiming you were no longer with the company and suggesting I work directly with him on contract negotiations. My stomach churns at this revelation. Marcus tried to steal my client relationships while orchestrating my termination. What exactly did he tell you? He said you'd accepted a position with a competitor and were no longer authorized to represent our account. He offered to personally manage our contract at a reduced rate if we signed immediately. Rachel looks up sharply from her financial records. Mr. Walsh, did Marcus request any confidential information during this conversation? Yes, he asked for our internal budget projections and strategic planning documents. Said he needed them to prepare a competitive proposal. Something about his approach felt wrong, so I contacted Thomas Patterson instead. The pattern becomes clear. Marcus planned to steal my client's embezzle project funds and sell confidential information to competitors before disappearing to Bradley Industries. My termination was designed to eliminate the one person who might expose his scheme. David Chen joins our discussion with additional security footage and computer forensics evidence. His military bearing and attention to detail make him an ideal investigator for this complex case. We've recovered deleted emails confirming Marcus's contact with Bradley Industries. The communications span 3 months and include offers to provide client lists, strategic plans, and financial data in exchange for a senior position. Rachel examines the printed emails with professional interest. These constitute federal charges for corporate espionage and interstate commerce fraud. Combined with the embezzlement evidence, Marcus is looking at potentially decades in prison. The gravity of federal charges sobers everyone in the room. What began as workplace harassment has escalated into serious criminal behavior with life-altering consequences. David, has Marcus attempted to contact any other employees since his suspension? Actually, yes. 3 team members reported threatening phone calls yesterday evening. Marcus warned them against cooperating with the investigation and suggested their jobs would be eliminated if they didn't support his version of events. Witness intimidation adds another charge to Marcus's growing list of federal crimes. His desperation is driving increasingly poor decisions that further incriminate him. Janet appears in the doorway looking shaken and clutching her phone. Brigitte, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just received a disturbing voicemail from Marcus. He's making threats about what will happen to people who lie about him. Rachel immediately requests Janet's phone as evidence. Has he contacted you directly, Brigitte? Not yet, but he probably blames me for exposing his crimes. We're going to arrange protection for key witnesses. Marcus's behavior suggests he's becoming increasingly unstable and potentially dangerous. Thomas Patterson enters with legal counsel and representatives from corporate headquarters. The presence of senior leadership indicates the investigation has reached the highest levels of company management. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just concluded a conference call with our board of directors. The company is fully cooperating with federal authorities and implementing immediate reforms to prevent future misconduct. The lead attorney, Beverly Chen, addresses our group with professional gravity. We're treating this as a comprehensive security breach, requiring systematic response. All affected projects will be audited, clients will be notified of potential data exposure, and new oversight procedures will be implemented immediately. Christopher Walsh looks concerned about the implications for his pending contract. Will this investigation delay our project timeline? Thomas responds quickly to address client concerns. Absolutely not. Brigitte remains your primary contact, and we're confident the Cascade Industries campaign will proceed as planned. In fact, her role in exposing this criminal activity demonstrates exactly why we value her strategic leadership. Rachel's phone buzzes with an urgent message. She reads quickly before meeting our eyes with new intensity. That was headquarters. Marcus just attempted to access company servers remotely using stolen credentials. Our cybercrimes unit is tracing his location now. The attempted computer intrusion represents another federal crime and suggests Marcus hasn't abandoned his scheme despite the investigation. What was he trying to access? Client databases and financial records, probably attempting to destroy evidence or steal additional information before we complete our forensic analysis. David immediately contacts building security to review access protocols and ensure no other compromised accounts exist. This confirms Marcus poses an ongoing threat to company assets and personnel safety. I'm recommending enhanced security measures until he's apprehended. Beverly outlines the legal steps necessary to protect the company and its employees. We're filing for emergency restraining orders against Marcus and freezing all accounts connected to his fraudulent activities. His attempts at witness intimidation and computer intrusion constitute violations of his suspension terms. As our meeting concludes, I realize the investigation has transformed from personal vindication into corporate crisis management. Marcus's crimes threaten not just my career, but the financial stability and reputation of an entire company. However, his escalating desperation and poor judgment are providing investigators with overwhelming evidence of criminal activity. Justice may be slow, but it appears to be inevitable. The question now is whether we can protect other potential victims while ensuring Marcus faces appropriate consequences for his elaborate betrayal. Rather than remain a passive victim waiting for investigators to deliver justice, I decide to actively contribute to building the strongest possible case against Marcus. My insider knowledge of his methods and access to affected clients positions me uniquely to help expose the full scope of his crimes. Agent Patricia Hendricks, the lead FBI investigator, welcomes my proactive approach during our strategy session. Her reputation for prosecuting white-collar crime gives me confidence that Marcus will face appropriate consequences. Brigitte, your documentation habits and client relationships are crucial evidence in this case. Most corporate fraud victims can't provide the detailed records you've maintained. I open my personal files containing copies of every project proposal, client communication, and budget analysis from the past 3 years. My methodical approach to record keeping, which Marcus often criticized as excessive, now provides the foundation for his prosecution. I keep backup copies of all major documents on my personal cloud storage. Marcus couldn't delete these when he accessed my company computer. Patricia reviews the comprehensive files with obvious appreciation. These records clearly establish the timeline of Marcus's fraudulent activities and prove your legitimate ownership of the work he claimed as his own. Without this documentation, we'd struggle to quantify the damage. The phone rings with a call from Jennifer Adams at Cascade Industries. Christopher Walsh apparently shared news of the investigation with his leadership team, and they want to understand how Marcus's crimes might affect their pending contract. Brigitte, we're concerned about the security of confidential information we've shared during contract negotiations. Did Marcus have access to our proprietary data? I check my client files before responding honestly about potential exposure. Marcus had administrative access to most project documents, including strategic plans and budget projections you provided. However, we have no evidence he actually transferred your information to competitors. That's reassuring, but we need written confirmation of what data might have been compromised. Our legal department requires full disclosure before proceeding with the contract. Patricia nods approvingly as I handle the client communication. Transparency builds trust and demonstrates the company's commitment to ethical business practices. Your honesty will strengthen rather than damage this relationship. Within an hour, 3 other major clients contact me directly expressing similar concerns about data security. Word of Marcus's criminal investigation has spread through industry networks, creating potential reputation damage for our company. Thomas Patterson joins our discussion as client communications multiply. Brigitte, I want you to lead our client outreach efforts. Your credibility and relationships are essential to maintaining trust during this crisis. Mr. Patterson, shouldn't corporate communications handle these sensitive discussions? Corporate communications doesn't have the technical knowledge or personal relationships you've built over 7 years. Our clients trust you specifically, not just the company brand. Patricia agrees with Thomas's assessment. Victim cooperation in white-collar cases often determines prosecution success. Brigitte's willingness to engage clients and preserve evidence significantly strengthens our position. I spend the afternoon personally contacting every client whose projects Marcus accessed during his criminal activities. The conversations are difficult but necessary to maintain professional relationships and support the investigation. Marcus's former colleagues approach me throughout the day, sharing additional evidence of his misconduct. The pattern of behavior extends much further back than investigators initially suspected. Kevin Martinez from the graphics department describes suspicious requests Marcus made 6 months ago. He asked me to create fake vendor invoices for companies I'd never heard of. Said they were shell corporations for tax purposes, but something felt wrong about the entire situation. Lisa Thompson from project management recalls Marcus pressuring her to alter timesheet records. He wanted me to redistribute hours from successful projects to failing ones. Claimed it was for accurate cost accounting, but the numbers never made sense. Each testimony adds another piece to the comprehensive picture of systematic fraud and deception. Marcus's crimes weren't impulsive decisions, but calculated efforts to steal from the company while destroying potential witnesses to his activities. Patricia coordinates witness interviews while I continue managing client relationships. The collaborative approach maximizes our effectiveness and ensures no evidence is overlooked. Bridget, your colleagues trust you enough to come forward with sensitive information. Without that trust, many of these witnesses might have remained silent. The afternoon brings unexpected support from an unlikely source. Bradley Industries contacts our company, requesting a meeting to discuss Marcus's attempted espionage. Donald Bradley, the company's founder, personally calls to express concern about Marcus's criminal activities. Ms. Brigitte, one of our employees, reported suspicious contact from your former colleague, offering confidential information in exchange for employment. We immediately notified authorities and want to cooperate fully with the investigation. This development surprises everyone involved in the case. Rather than benefit from Marcus's espionage, our primary competitor chose to report his criminal behavior to law enforcement. Mr. Bradley, I appreciate your company's integrity in this situation. Corporate espionage damages our entire industry's reputation. We compete aggressively, but ethically. Marcus's behavior violates every principle of legitimate business competition. Patricia views Bradley Industries' cooperation as a significant breakthrough in the federal case. When competitors voluntarily report espionage attempts, it demonstrates clear criminal intent and eliminates any defense claims about legitimate business activities. Thomas schedules an emergency board meeting to address the expanding scope of Marcus's crimes and their impact on company operations. I'm invited to present my findings and recommendations for preventing future misconduct. Brigitte, the board needs to understand how this situation developed and what systemic changes are necessary to prevent recurrence. Preparing for the board presentation forces me to analyze not just Marcus's individual crimes, but the organizational weaknesses that enabled his success. The exercise transforms my perspective from victim seeking justice to consultant recommending comprehensive reform. Patricia, corporate investigations often reveal management failures that facilitate employee misconduct. What patterns do you typically observe? Inadequate oversight, concentrated authority, and poor internal controls create environments where fraud flourishes. Your case demonstrates how administrative privileges can be abused without proper checks and balances. That evening, I draft a detailed proposal for implementing new oversight procedures, ethics training, and whistleblower protections. The document draws on my 7 years of experience and recent education in criminal behavior to recommend practical solutions. My phone rings with a call from my former college roommate, Amanda, who works in corporate compliance for a Fortune 500 company. Brigitte, I heard about your situation through industry contacts. What you're going through sounds incredibly difficult, but your response has impressed a lot of people. I just want to ensure Marcus faces consequences and no one else experiences what I went through. That's exactly why several companies have contacted me asking if you'd be interested in consulting on ethics and fraud prevention programs. Your combination of technical expertise and personal experience with corporate crime creates unique qualifications. The suggestion hadn't occurred to me, but Amanda raises an intriguing possibility. My painful experience could become the foundation for helping other organizations prevent similar crimes. Amanda, I'm focused on completing this investigation first, but I'd be interested in exploring consulting opportunities afterward. As I prepare for tomorrow's board presentation, I realize my role has evolved from victim to advocate for systemic change. Marcus's betrayal, while personally devastating, created an opportunity to improve workplace protections for countless future employees. Justice isn't just about punishing wrongdoing, it's about preventing future harm through meaningful reform and education. 3 weeks after the investigation began, I stand before our company's board of directors, presenting comprehensive recommendations for preventing future misconduct. The transformation from terminated employee to ethics consultant feels surreal but deeply satisfying. Directors, the Marcus situation reveals critical weaknesses in our oversight systems that enabled systematic fraud worth over $100,000. Without addressing these vulnerabilities, we remain exposed to similar criminal activity. Board Chairman Robert Sullivan reviews my detailed proposal with obvious interest. My 7 years of institutional knowledge combined with recent education in corporate crime investigation provides credibility that external consultants couldn't match. Brigitte, your recommendations for segregated administrative access and mandatory dual approvals would significantly increase operational security. How quickly could these changes be implemented? Most technical modifications could be completed within 60 days. Cultural changes requiring ethics training and whistleblower education would take longer to fully establish. Thomas Patterson presents the investigation's financial results, confirming the scope of Marcus's embezzlement. Forensic accounting identified $127,000 in fraudulent transactions across 23 different projects. Civil recovery efforts have frozen Marcus's assets and identified hidden accounts containing stolen funds. The civil lawsuit against Marcus proceeds in parallel with federal criminal charges. Our legal team expects to recover most stolen money while criminal prosecution ensures appropriate prison time for his crimes. Patricia Hendricks provides an update on the federal case during our afternoon meeting. Marcus was arrested yesterday attempting to leave the country using false identification documents. The passport fraud charges add another 5 to 10 years to his potential sentence. His attempted flight confirms the premeditated nature of his crimes and eliminates any possibility of claiming the misconduct was accidental or misunderstood. What's the timeline for criminal prosecution? With his arrest and the evidence we've compiled, Marcus will likely accept a plea agreement rather than risk trial. Federal sentencing guidelines suggest 15 to 20 years imprisonment plus full restitution. The promise of justice feels deeply satisfying after weeks of uncertainty and investigation. Marcus's crimes will face appropriate consequences while reforms prevent future victims. Sarah receives a suspended sentence and community service in exchange for her cooperation with investigators. Her testimony proved crucial in establishing the timeline and motivation for Marcus's criminal scheme. Brigitte, I want to apologize again for my role in what happened to you. I let Marcus manipulate me into betraying someone who never did anything wrong. Sarah, you made the right choice by coming forward with evidence. That took courage and integrity. Her decision to expose Marcus despite personal consequences demonstrates the power of individual conscience in fighting workplace corruption. Without her testimony proving the conspiracy would have been much more difficult. Christopher Walsh from Cascade Industries visits our office to finalize the delayed contract and express appreciation for our handling of the crisis. Brigitte, your transparency and professionalism during this investigation convinced our leadership to expand our relationship with your company. We're increasing the contract value to $15 million based on confidence in your team's ethics and capabilities. Rather than damage client relationships, our honest response to Marcus's crimes actually strengthened trust and generated additional business. The experience reinforces the long-term value of ethical behavior, even during difficult situations. Mr. Walsh, we appreciate Cascade Industries' patience and understanding during this challenging period. Your support enabled us to focus on the investigation without worrying about losing valued partnerships. The local business journal requests an interview about the case and its implications for corporate governance. My story resonates with other professionals who've experienced workplace harassment or retaliation. Brigitte, what advice would you give to employees who suspect fraud or misconduct in their organizations? Document everything, trust your instincts, and remember that speaking up serves the greater good, even when it feels risky personally. Staying silent enables criminals to continue hurting others. The article generates responses from dozens of readers sharing their own experiences with workplace abuse and fraud. Several companies contact me directly requesting guidance on implementing stronger ethics programs. Linda Morrison approaches me with an unexpected proposal from corporate leadership. Brigitte, the board, wants to offer you Marcus's former position as marketing director with a substantial salary increase and authority to implement the reforms you've recommended. The irony of receiving the job Marcus tried to steal through criminal activity isn't lost on me. However, the position offers an opportunity to create lasting positive change within our organization. I'm honored by the offer, but I'd like to negotiate splitting my time between internal management and external consulting. The skills I've developed through this experience could benefit other organizations facing similar challenges. Thomas Patterson enthusiastically supports the hybrid arrangement. Your consulting work would enhance our company's reputation as a leader in corporate ethics. We'd be proud to have team members recognized as experts in fraud prevention and workplace justice. The arrangement allows me to maintain my client relationships while building a new practice area focused on ethics and compliance consulting. The painful experience with Marcus becomes the foundation for helping other organizations prevent similar crimes. Local universities invite me to speak about corporate fraud detection and the importance of whistleblower protections. My presentations combine technical knowledge with personal testimony to educate future business leaders about ethical responsibility. Students, the decision to report misconduct isn't just about following rules. It's about protecting colleagues, clients, and the integrity of your profession. Silence in the face of wrongdoing makes you complicit in the harm that follows. The speaking engagements connect me with a network of professionals dedicated to improving workplace culture and preventing corporate crime. The relationships developed through tragedy become resources for positive change. Marcus's sentencing hearing provides closure to the criminal case. Federal Judge Catherine Lopez delivers a stern message about corporate responsibility during the proceedings. Mr. Marcus, your crimes betrayed the trust of colleagues, clients, and shareholders, while personally devastating innocent employees. The systematic nature of your fraud and attempts to destroy evidence demonstrate complete disregard for ethical standards and legal obligations. He receives 18 years in federal prison, plus mandatory restitution of all stolen funds. The sentence reflects the serious nature of his crimes while providing appropriate justice for his victims. Your Honor, I accept responsibility for my actions and apologize to everyone I harmed through my selfish decisions. Marcus's statement lacks the sincerity that might have warranted leniency, but the formal acknowledgement of guilt provides psychological closure for me and other victims. As we leave the courthouse, Patricia congratulates our team on the successful prosecution. This case demonstrates how victim cooperation and thorough investigation can deliver meaningful justice even in complex white-collar crimes. Your courage in fighting back made all the difference. The civil recovery process ultimately returns $108,000 to our company, enabling full restitution to affected clients and funding for enhanced security systems. Financial justice accompanies criminal punishment to complete the accountability process. 6 months after my wrongful termination, I've transformed from victim to advocate consultant and recognized expert in corporate ethics. The painful experience that nearly destroyed my career became the catalyst for personal growth and professional opportunity beyond anything I previously imagined. Marcus's betrayal revealed my strength, resilience, and ability to fight for justice, even when the odds seemed impossible. The scars from his crimes serve as reminders of what I survived and overcame through courage, determination, and unwavering commitment to doing what's right. 8 months have passed since that devastating morning when Marcus terminated me in his office. Today, I sit in the same conference room where Thomas Patterson first confronted Marcus about his lies, but my circumstances have changed dramatically. The quarterly earnings report shows our marketing department achieved record performance under ethical leadership principles I implemented after accepting the director position. Our client retention rate has improved to 96%, while new business increased 40% over the same period last year. More importantly, we've accomplished these results through collaborative effort and transparent communication. Janet, now promoted to Senior Marketing Coordinator, beams with pride as she presents campaign results that exceed every previous benchmark. Bridget, the trust-building exercises and open feedback sessions you introduced have transformed our workplace culture. People actually enjoy coming to work now. The contrast with Marcus's authoritarian management style couldn't be more striking, where he used fear and manipulation to control subordinates. I've built a team environment where creativity and honesty flourish. Patricia Hendricks visits our office to present awards recognizing employees who contributed to the fraud investigation. Her presence reminds me how far we've all come from those dark days when Marcus's crimes seemed insurmountable. Brigitte, the cooperation your team provided set a new standard for corporate fraud investigations. Your willingness to fight back instead of accepting injustice made this prosecution possible. The award ceremony attracts local media attention, positioning our company as a leader in corporate integrity and employee protection. What could have been a reputation-destroying scandal became a demonstration of ethical leadership and organizational resilience. My consulting practice has grown to include clients in 12 states seeking guidance on fraud prevention and workplace ethics programs. The painful education I received through Marcus's betrayal now serves organizations nationwide in protecting their employees and assets. Dr. Williams, your university's business ethics program could benefit from real-world case studies that demonstrate both criminal behavior patterns and effective response strategies. Professor Williams from State University enthusiastically agrees to collaborate on developing curriculum that prepares future managers to recognize and prevent workplace fraud. Brigitte's students need to understand that ethical challenges aren't abstract theoretical problems. They're practical situations requiring courage, integrity, and decisive action. The partnership with academic institutions amplifies the impact of my experience by educating thousands of students who will carry these lessons into their own careers. Marcus's crimes inadvertently became a teaching tool for preventing future misconduct. Christopher Walsh contacts me with exciting news about Cascade Industries' expansion plans. Brigitte, your handling of our contract during the investigation impressed our board so much that they want you to lead marketing strategy for our national expansion. The project would be worth $25 million over 3 years. The opportunity represents more business than I managed in my entire previous career. Marcus's attempt to steal my client relationships ultimately strengthened them beyond anything he could have achieved through honest effort. Mr. Walsh, I'm honored by your confidence and excited about the expansion possibilities. When would you like to begin strategic planning sessions? Sarah stops by my office to share updates on her recovery and career rebuilding efforts. Our relationship has evolved from adversarial to supportive as she works to overcome the mistakes she made during Marcus's manipulation. Brigitte, the counseling sessions you recommended have helped me understand how I allowed fear and insecurity to compromise my judgment. I'm learning to recognize manipulation tactics and trust my own moral compass. Her transformation demonstrates the possibility of redemption, even after serious ethical failures. Second chances require genuine accountability and sustained effort to change harmful patterns. Sarah, your courage in exposing Marcus's crimes despite personal risk showed your true character. Mistakes don't define us. Our response to them does. The support group for Marcus's victims has grown into a permanent resource for workplace abuse survivors throughout our region. Monthly meetings provide emotional support and practical guidance for people facing similar challenges. Everyone, tonight's discussion focuses on recognizing early warning signs of workplace harassment and building documentation that supports formal complaints when necessary. Linda Morrison, our HR director, regularly attends meetings to share institutional perspective and learn from victim experiences. Her participation demonstrates genuine commitment to preventing future misconduct through improved policies and procedures. Linda, the revised employee handbook includes strong whistleblower protections, but implementation requires consistent enforcement and visible leadership support. Absolutely, Brigitte. We've trained all managers on recognizing retaliation and created multiple reporting channels to ensure employees feel safe coming forward with concerns. The systemic changes extend beyond our company through industry associations and professional organizations that adopted our ethics protocols as best practice standards. Marcus's crimes catalyzed widespread reform that protects thousands of workers. Congressional staff contact me about testifying at hearings on corporate fraud prevention and worker protection legislation. The personal story of surviving workplace betrayal resonates with lawmakers seeking to strengthen legal protections. Representative Johnson's current federal statutes focus on financial crimes, but provide inadequate protection for employees who expose misconduct. Stronger whistleblower shields and faster investigation procedures would encourage more people to report fraud early. The legislative testimony connects my experience to broader policy discussions about corporate accountability and worker rights. Individual trauma becomes a catalyst for social change that benefits society as a whole. Marcus's conviction and imprisonment provide ongoing validation that justice prevailed despite the personal cost of pursuing it. News reports about his sentencing remind me that courage in fighting corruption can overcome seemingly impossible odds. Federal prosecutors credit victim cooperation with enabling the successful prosecution of corporate fraud worth over $100,000. The case demonstrates how individual courage can expose systematic criminal behavior. My phone rings constantly with interview requests from business publications, legal journals, and ethics organizations seeking expertise on corporate crime prevention. The platform created by surviving Marcus's betrayal amplifies messages about workplace integrity and justice. Ms. Brigitte, Harvard Business Review wants to feature your case in an upcoming issue about organizational resilience and ethical leadership. Would you be willing to co-author an article with our editors? The Harvard Business Review article reaches millions of business leaders worldwide, spreading lessons learned from Marcus's crimes to organizations that can implement preventive measures before criminal behavior develops. Evening reflection on this journey reveals how profoundly adversity can transform purposes and possibilities. Marcus intended to destroy my career and reputation, but his crimes ultimately elevated both beyond anything I previously imagined possible. The pain he inflicted became the foundation for helping others avoid similar suffering. The injustice he committed motivated sustained effort to improve workplace protections for countless future employees. Thomas, the quarterly victim advocacy statistics show our support programs have helped over 200 people navigate workplace harassment and fraud situations. The investment in these resources delivers measurable social impact. Thomas Patterson reviews the program results with obvious satisfaction. Brigitte, the board, views these initiatives as essential to our corporate mission and competitive advantage. Ethical leadership isn't just about avoiding problems. It's about creating positive change that attracts top talent and loyal clients. As I prepare tomorrow's presentation to the National Association of Corporate Compliance Officers, I realize my personal transformation mirrors broader cultural shifts toward accountability and transparency in business practices. Marcus's betrayal marked the end of my naive trust in workplace fairness, but it also marked the beginning of my commitment to fighting for justice that protects other people from experiencing similar trauma. The scars from his crimes serve as daily reminders of what I survived and overcame through persistence, integrity, and unwavering faith that truth ultimately prevails over deception. 1 year to the day after Marcus terminated me in his office, I stand before a packed auditorium at the National Conference on Workplace Ethics, preparing to deliver the keynote address to over 1,500 business leaders, compliance officers, and workplace advocates. The transformation from discarded employee to recognized expert in corporate integrity represents a journey I never could have imagined during those dark initial moments. Good morning, everyone! Exactly 365 days ago, I was fired from a job I loved by a supervisor I trusted for reasons that didn't exist by a man who was stealing from our company while destroying my reputation to cover his crimes. Today, I want to share what that experience taught me about betrayal justice and the power of fighting back when everything seems lost. The audience leans forward with engagement as I recount the morning Marcus delivered his crushing verdict with casual indifference. I describe the emotional devastation of believing 7 years of dedication meant nothing, the confusion when Thomas Patterson called seeking my presentation, and the gradual revelation of Marcus's elaborate criminal scheme. The first lesson betrayal teaches is that it reveals character rather than destroys it. Marcus's actions exposed his criminal nature, moral bankruptcy, and complete disregard for human dignity. But my response revealed strength I didn't know I possessed, resilience I had never tested, and commitment to justice that surprised even me. I share statistical evidence demonstrating the impact of our workplace reforms. Anonymous employee surveys show a 60% reduction in harassment complaints, 95% confidence in reporting mechanisms, and unprecedented levels of job satisfaction across all departments. When we transform pain into purpose, individual suffering becomes collective healing. Every protocol we implemented protects future employees from experiencing what I endured. Every training session educates managers about recognizing misconduct before it escalates. Every whistleblower who comes forward helps prevent the next victim. The presentation includes testimonials from other fraud survivors who found courage through my story to expose misconduct in their own organizations. Their voices illustrate how one person's decision to fight back creates ripple effects that extend far beyond personal vindication. Maria discovered her supervisor was embezzling scholarship funds from disadvantaged students. David exposed safety violations that prevented workplace injuries. Jennifer revealed sexual harassment that protected dozens of female colleagues. Each of them chose courage over comfort, justice over job security. I explain how Marcus's 18-year prison sentence and full restitution sends a clear message that corporate crime carries serious consequences. The criminal prosecution validates every difficult decision made during the investigation and demonstrates that persistence in pursuing justice delivers meaningful results. Justice delayed isn't justice denied when we refuse to surrender our integrity to expedient solutions. Marcus spent months believing he had successfully destroyed my career and eliminated threats to his criminal enterprise. His conviction proves that truth ultimately prevails over deception, regardless of how sophisticated the lies or how powerful the liar. The audience responds with sustained applause as I describe the growth of victim support networks, legislative changes strengthening whistleblower protections, and cultural shifts toward accountability in business leadership. Individual trauma became a catalyst for systemic reform that benefits millions of workers. My consulting practice has grown to serve organizations in 37 states, helping them implement fraud prevention programs based on hard-won experience with corporate crime. Universities incorporate our case study into business ethics curricula, educating future leaders about moral courage and practical integrity. I share updates on former colleagues who found strength to pursue their own justice after witnessing my successful fight against Marcus. Janet earned promotion to marketing director at a competing firm. Linda Morrison received recognition for implementing industry-leading ethics programs. Even Sarah rebuilt her career through honest effort and genuine accountability for past mistakes. The most profound transformation occurred within myself. Betrayal forced me to examine my values, test my convictions, and discover capabilities I never knew existed. The woman who accepted Marcus's termination without question would not recognize the person standing before you today. Financial success accompanied personal growth as ethical business practices attracted clients, partners, and opportunities that prioritized integrity over profit margins. My combined salary and consulting income now exceeds Marcus's former position by over 100%, proving that honest effort delivers superior long-term results compared to criminal shortcuts. Professional excellence combined with moral courage builds lasting legacies that criminal behavior can never achieve. Marcus's name is associated permanently with fraud and betrayal. My name represents integrity, justice, and the power of fighting back against impossible odds. The presentation concludes with practical guidance for organizations seeking to prevent misconduct and support employees who expose wrongdoing. I emphasize that creating ethical cultures requires sustained commitment, visible leadership, and meaningful consequences for violations. True victory means ensuring others don't suffer what we endured. Marcus's crimes traumatized multiple victims, damaged client relationships, and threatened our company's reputation. Our response created systems that prevent similar harm while supporting future whistleblowers with resources and protection. As I take questions from the audience, themes emerge about courage, persistence, and faith in eventual justice. Business leaders express gratitude for practical guidance based on real experience rather than theoretical knowledge. Ms. Brigitte, how do you maintain optimism when fighting corruption seems overwhelming? I remember that every small victory protects someone from experiencing what I survived. When ethics programs prevent harassment, when whistleblower policies encourage reporting, when criminal prosecutions deliver consequences, the suffering was transformed into protection for others. The conference organizers present an award recognizing contributions to workplace justice and corporate integrity. The honor represents validation from peers who understand the personal cost of fighting corruption and the professional satisfaction of creating positive change. This award belongs to everyone who supported the investigation, every colleague who came forward with evidence, every client who maintained trust during uncertainty, and every survivor who found courage through our shared experience. Following the presentation, dozens of attendees approach with their own stories of workplace betrayal and requests for guidance in fighting similar injustices. The connections formed through shared adversity create networks of support that extend far beyond individual cases. The conference sponsors want to fund a national workplace justice initiative based on your model. Would you be interested in leading this program? The opportunity represents chance to institutionalize lessons learned from Marcus's crimes while providing resources for countless future victims. Individual transformation becomes organizational mission dedicated to protecting workers nationwide. As the conference concludes, I reflect on the journey from termination to triumph that began with Marcus's devastating betrayal. His intention to destroy my career ultimately elevated it beyond anything possible through normal progression. His criminal behavior created opportunities for meaningful contribution to social justice. Have you ever experienced workplace injustice that changed your perspective on standing up for what's right? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might inspire someone else to find courage in fighting back against corruption. If this message resonated with you, please like this video to help others discover that betrayal doesn't have to define us. Subscribe to our channel for more stories about overcoming adversity through integrity and determination. Share this with colleagues, friends, or anyone who needs encouragement that justice is possible even when the odds seem impossible. Together we can create workplaces where honesty is rewarded and corruption faces swift consequences. Thank you for joining me in this mission to transform pain into purpose and individual suffering into collective protection. Remember, your voice matters, your integrity has power, and your courage to fight back can change everything. The recording light dims as I finish this chapter of my story, but the mission continues every day through consulting work, victim support, legislative advocacy, and educational programs that ensure Marcus's crimes serve a greater purpose than mere personal vindication. His betrayal taught me that adversity reveals strength we didn't know we possessed, that justice requires active pursuit rather than passive hope, and that individual courage creates ripple effects that protect countless others from similar harm. The scars from his crimes have healed into wisdom about human nature, professional integrity, and the transformative power of fighting back when everything seems lost. Marcus intended to destroy me, but he ultimately created the foundation for a purpose-driven life dedicated to protecting others from experiencing what I survived. That transformation represents the deepest victory of all, turning betrayal into blessing, trauma into triumph, and personal pain into universal protection for anyone brave enough to stand up and fight for what's right.